Welcome to Screen Hollywood, the home of movie news and entertainment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Now, let's address the things everybody actually wants to talk about, because pretending these conversations never happened would be dishonest. Batman is over there. Spider-Man has just walked into the scene. Catwoman's arrived. Matt Damon is standing in ancient Greece. I was worried because, would I believe them inside this world? Or would I spend 3 hours recognizing famous faces? Christopher Nolan occupies a unique position in modern cinema. He's one of the very few directors whose name alone can still fill IMAX screens around the world. So, was all the controversy worth it? Honestly, for the last 12 months, I've watched Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey get absolutely torn apart online. And here's the strange thing. Most of the people criticizing this movie hadn't actually seen it. Before a single member of the public had even sat inside a cinema, social media had already decided this film was going to fail. We had the Elliot Page controversy, rumors claiming Elliot Page was playing Achilles. We had endless debates surrounding Travis Scott's casting. We had controversy surrounding Lupita Nyong'o, historical accuracy debates, woke Hollywood discussions, people saying Nolan had finally lost it, people predicting this would be the first genuine disaster of his career. The criticism reached absolute fever pitch. And I'll be honest, it worked. It lowered my expectations. When I walked into the cinema, I wasn't expecting another Interstellar. I wasn't expecting another The Dark Knight. I certainly wasn't expecting another Oppenheimer. I genuinely thought this could be the movie where Christopher Nolan finally stumbles. So, after all the online outrage, after months of negative headlines, after YouTube, Reddit, and social media had practically buried this film before release, was everybody right? Or had the internet simply got carried away? Well, having now watched The Odyssey, I can honestly say, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised, because this movie is actually very, very good. Let's get one thing out of the way immediately. This is not a movie you should watch on your television. Don't wait for streaming, don't watch it on your tablet, don't watch it on your phone. This film was built for one thing: IMAX. Christopher Nolan has once again created something that simply feels enormous. Every frame looks expensive. Every location feels authentic. Every battle sequence has genuine scale. There are moments in this movie where you genuinely stop thinking about the story for a second, simply because you're taking in the size of what's on screen. That's something very few directors can achieve. Christopher Nolan can. And once again, he reminds everybody why people still leave their homes to experience cinema. Because some movies deserve the biggest screen possible. This is one of them. Now, let's get my biggest criticism out of the way, because there is one. The opening 35 minutes are slow. Very slow. Now, before anybody starts panicking, I understand why. Nolan is introducing an enormous cast. He's establishing relationships. He's building the political world. He's laying the foundations for a 3-hour epic. I completely understand what he's trying to do, but I won't pretend I wasn't checking my watch slightly. The opening isn't bad, it's just ponderous. And I think something else contributed to that. For the first half an hour, I couldn't stop seeing movie stars. Seriously, I'm sitting there thinking, Batman is over there. Spider-Man has just walked into the scene. Catwoman's arrived. Matt Damon is standing in ancient Greece. It genuinely took me around 35 minutes to stop seeing famous actors playing dress-up. And I know some people will laugh at that, but I think a lot of audiences are going to experience exactly the same thing. Christopher Nolan has assembled one of the biggest casts Hollywood has produced in years. Initially, you notice the celebrities, but then something interesting happens. The movie slowly pulls you in. The performances begin taking over. The world starts feeling believable. The actors disappear, and the characters finally emerge. Once that happened, the movie completely won me over. I have to say, Matt Damon absolutely delivers here. And I don't say that lightly. This is a 3-hour epic. That is an enormous responsibility for any actor. Yet Damon carries the emotional weight of this film with complete confidence. Every scene feels believable. Every decision feels earned. Every emotional moment lands exactly as it should. This isn't an actor trying to dominate every frame. It's an actor quietly controlling the entire movie. The further the story progresses, the stronger his performance becomes. And honestly, I think there's a very strong argument that this is one of the finest performances of his career. I'm sure plenty of people will say it's his best. Whether you agree or not, there's no question he carries this movie on his shoulders, and he never lets it slip. One thing Christopher Nolan has always understood better than almost anybody else is scale. This movie feels enormous. The practical locations, the costumes, the ships, the battles, the cinematography, everything feels crafted with incredible attention to detail. Nothing looks cheap. Nothing feels artificial. Every frame feels like months of planning. You can almost feel the production team pushing themselves. That's something I really appreciated. Watching this movie, you get the sense that everybody involved genuinely cared. Nobody is coasting. Nobody is simply collecting a paycheck. The cast put in an incredible shift. The production team put in an incredible shift. And Christopher Nolan somehow keeps this enormous machine moving without it ever collapsing under its own ambition. That isn't easy. Very few directors could pull this off. If I'm being completely honest, this is probably where the movie surprised me the most. Because before watching it, I was worried about the casting. Very worried. Not because I dislike the actors, quite the opposite. They're all incredibly talented people. I was worried because, would I believe them inside this world? Or would I spend 3 hours recognizing famous faces? Thankfully, once the story settles, the performances completely take over. Every major actor commits to the material. Nobody phones it in. Nobody feels out of place once the film finds its rhythm. In fact, I walked out thinking the performances were probably one of the movie's greatest strengths, and I honestly wasn't expecting to say that. Now, let's address the things everybody actually wants to talk about, because pretending these conversations never happened would be dishonest. The internet has spent months arguing about them, so let's deal with them properly. So, let's address the elephants in the room. Because whether people like it or not, these conversations dominated the build-up to this movie. You couldn't escape them. Everywhere you looked, social media, YouTube, X, Reddit, people weren't talking about Christopher Nolan's vision. They weren't talking about Homer's epic poem. They weren't talking about the cinematography. They were talking about the casting. And I completely understand why. When you cast one of the biggest ensemble casts in modern cinema, people are going to have opinions. Some fair, some completely over the top. Now that I've actually seen the finished movie, let's talk honestly about those controversies, because the finished product tells a very different story. Let's start with Elliot Page. Before this film was released, there was endless speculation online about what role Elliot Page would actually be playing. Rumors spread across social media, and many people had already decided they disliked the casting before seeing a single frame of the movie. Having now watched the Odyssey, I honestly think this entire debate became much bigger than the role itself. Without giving away spoilers, Elliot Page gives a perfectly solid performance. Professional, convincing, never distracting. More importantly, the role isn't remotely as dominant as many people feared. I spent months reading comments suggesting this casting decision was going to derail the film. It doesn't, not even close. And that's the problem with internet outrage. Sometimes, people become so invested in arguing about a movie, they forget to wait until they've actually seen it. Next, let's talk about Travis Scott. Again, this became one of those conversations that snowballed online. People acted as though Christopher Nolan had suddenly handed one of the film's biggest roles to a rapper. After watching the movie, that narrative simply doesn't reflect reality. His appearance is little more than a cameo. He's there, he serves his purpose, then the story moves on. Honestly, if nobody had told me there was controversy surrounding this casting beforehand, I probably wouldn't have thought twice about it. It certainly doesn't impact the quality of the movie. Now, this was probably the casting I was most concerned about. Not because of Lupita Nyong'o herself. I've always thought she's a very talented actress. My concern came from the sheer amount of discussion surrounding the role before release. It became one of the biggest talking points attached to this movie. And I'll be honest, I walked into the cinema wondering whether that controversy was going to dominate my viewing experience. To my surprise, it didn't. She gives a solid performance. She handles the role professionally, and perhaps most importantly, she's nowhere near as central to the overall narrative as some people had assumed. Again, the internet managed to turn something relatively small into one of the defining conversations surrounding the movie. Watching the finished product, it simply isn't the issue people expected it to be. One thing that genuinely surprised me was just how thoughtful this film is. I went in expecting giant battles, huge action sequences, epic visuals. And yes, you absolutely get all of those things. But beneath all the spectacle, there's a surprisingly philosophical movie. Christopher Nolan spends a lot of time exploring leadership, identity, responsibility, loyalty, sacrifice, the emotional cost of survival. This isn't simply 3 hours of people swinging swords. There's real substance here. And I think that's one of the reasons the running time never became a problem for me. Once those opening 35 minutes are behind you, the story settles into a really enjoyable rhythm. The pacing improves dramatically, the emotional investment grows, and before you realize it, you're completely invested in the journey. Now, let's be clear. This isn't Christopher Nolan's greatest film. I don't think it's better than The Dark Knight. I don't think it's better than Interstellar or Oppenheimer. But does it deserve the level of criticism it received before audiences even had the chance to watch it? Absolutely not. Not even remotely. In my opinion, the internet judged this movie far too early. People became obsessed with casting debates instead of waiting to see whether the performances actually worked. And having now watched the finished film, most of those concerns simply melt away. Does it take a little while to adjust to seeing such a star-studded cast in ancient Greece? Absolutely. It took me around 35 minutes. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But once your brain stops recognizing Batman, Spider-Man, Catwoman, and starts believing the characters instead, the movie really comes alive. That's Christopher Nolan's greatest achievement here. He somehow convinces you to forget you're watching some of Hollywood's biggest stars. That's incredibly difficult to do. So, was all the controversy worth it? Honestly, no, not really. Because once the lights go down, none of it matters. The debates disappear, the headlines disappear, social media disappears. All that matters is the movie. And fortunately, the movie is very good. It's ambitious, it's emotional, it's visually spectacular. The performances are outstanding. Matt Damon delivers one of the strongest performances of his career. Christopher Nolan once again proves why he's one of the greatest filmmakers working today. Is it perfect? No. The first 35 minutes require patience. Some of the casting takes time to accept. But once the film finds its rhythm, it becomes exactly what I hoped it would be: an epic cinematic experience. If you're sitting on the fence because you've spent months reading negative headlines, I genuinely encourage you to make your own mind up. Judge the film, not the discourse surrounding it, because in my opinion, the positives comfortably outweigh the controversy. And I honestly believe this movie is going to perform extremely well at the box office. Christopher Nolan occupies a unique position in modern cinema. He's one of the very few directors whose name alone can still fill IMAX screens around the world. Even after months of relentless criticism, people are still going to show up. Why? Because audiences trust Christopher Nolan to deliver a cinematic experience. And after watching the Odyssey, I completely understand why. So, those are my spoiler-free thoughts on the Odyssey. Now it's over to you. Have you seen the movie yet? Did Christopher Nolan live up to the hype? Or do you think the pre-release criticism was justified? I genuinely love to hear your thoughts, so let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more honest movie reviews, Hollywood news, production updates, box office analysis, and original entertainment discussions right here on Screen Hollywood. And bookmark and subscribe to our news publication at screenhollywood.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.